Hello everyone, welcome to the first episode of my video series where I relive all my old content. As you can see here, I have a lot of old content. This is all stuff from 2012 on the screen right now in my videos. They're all unlisted at the moment, but I've actually recorded this first episode before. I've recorded the first 5 episodes of this series before, but I wasn't too happy with how they came out. But I felt like as I went through each episode, I sort of developed my style and kind of the vibe I want to go for with these things a little more. So I'm starting again. I'm forgetting I did all those, even though I've actually like uploaded them and done all the SEO and stuff. I'm forgetting I've done that, and I'm starting again from the top here, with some new features. So you can see on the left here, wherever that is, over here, you can see I've got the ranked best to worst thing, which is a new feature. So I'm going to rank how good I think my videos are. And this series is very, very self-indulgent, as you can tell. This is the first episode where the first 3 episodes will be free for everyone, and then following on from that, so we'll have Patreon exclusive videos. So, first 3 episodes, we've got Kane Lynch, Netronic Rush, Medal of Honor. Today we'll be looking at Kane Lynch, and then it'll go into Counter-Strike Condition Zero, Deleted Seeds, Brit Chip Runner, Prince of Persia, Serious Sam, Homefront. Yeah, it'll go on. See, I have a lot of like old, sort of bad, cringeworthy content that I'd like to relive and hopefully give you some insights on what I don't like about them, what I think I've improved. Maybe it'll give you some insights on video making, even though I'm by no means like some great spokesman on how to make videos. But I feel like I've improved a lot, and it'll be fun to go back to these and see how awful they really are. So without further ado, here's Kane Lynch Dead Men single player review for PC. When it loads, we're on Australian internet, remember. Here we go. So right off the bat, we've got white text on top of white text, which you should not do. If you're a video maker, don't do that. Kane Lynch Dead Men is a gritty third-person shooter developed by IO Interactive. Alright. So, apologies for the plane going over in the sky. It's funny talking about bad audio while a plane is flying over, but you could hear me click in and then a whole bunch of static noise and like birds in the background. And then when I started talking, I'm all soft-like, so I haven't quite figured out how I want to speak yet. Remember, I was 16 years old when I made this, so this was a whole new world to me, and I'm like, Kane Lynch Dead Men is a gritty third-person shooter. You can see like the lack of confidence, I suppose. Continuing. Makers of Freedom Fighters and Hitman. It's got an engaging story, interesting characters, great sound design, and cool levels.
Dear Jenny.
So with that little paragraph there, I kind of gave away everything I was going to talk about, which I try and avoid doing. So I was like, it has great characters, great sound design, cool levels. You want to give it an aura of mystery, but I think what I did with this review is I said that those are the great things about this game, and then I followed on with like talking more about those. So I kind of like gave everything away that's interesting about the game in the first sentence, which, you know, you want to be like tuned in to see more to keep the audience engaged, but I don't know.
I've been trying to write you this letter for 14 years. Today is my last chance.
Okay, I know what happens in this next bit because last time I watched this. For some context, I really liked Classic Game Room at the time, which was an old YouTube channel that was very popular about like literally 10 years ago. And I wanted to sort of emulate their style a bit by having massive chunks of gameplay between when I spoke, because the review would be kind of like you'd get the vibe of the game through me just showing you the game and then occasionally talking. And that was something I dropped very quickly because it turns out that doing that is extremely boring, especially when everything I had to say was extremely boring. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed this up as we get to the next bit.
This afternoon I will pay for my mistakes with my life. I'll be fair. As you know, if you've read the papers, my life as a mercenary, no pain I've caused. Most of it is true. I should regret it all. I should be scared of dying, but I'm not. I can't anymore. The only feeling I have left is regret. Regret that I'll never get to know you. You're all that matters. Sorry I never understood. Your father.
Alright, so yeah, huge chunks of gameplay. That was like a minute long almost. That wasn't even gameplay, that was a cutscene. So on that note, Kane Lynch is a really cool game. I'm still into the kind of vibe it has. It's really depressing. I really like that sort of little monologue he gives. But yeah, as far as making a video, makes for a boring video.
Kane. Kane, wake up.
See, there's even more. Like,
What? I need you to cover your head. What did you say? Just cover your head now!
see how long that was going for? It's like exceptionally boring. I don't know what I was thinking, but just for some context of what I was sort of doing at the time. I was 16 years old. I really liked ABC's Good Game, which was an Australian sort of TV show with Barjo and Hex. You might know it. And I liked Classic Game Room, like I said earlier. And they sort of had this really laid-back style that I really wanted to emulate. And I don't feel like I nailed it. Well, obviously I didn't nail it here, but that was kind of what I was going for. And I also wanted to be like a serious games review kind of dude. So yeah. You play as Kane, a criminal ex-mercenary on death row with another character named Lynch, who is a psychopath who has crazy outbursts. Lynch works for the Seven, a mercenary group who claims that Kane betrayed them. The Seven breaks out both Kane and Lynch from the prison van and force Kane to work for them, with Lynch being his watchdog. Kane is forced to accept because the Seven are holding his wife and daughter hostage. Lynch can be played by a co-op partner or by AI.
Treated you like a...
The transitions between, sorry about the plane again, the transitions between like me speaking and game audio just hits you like a fucking wall, like just like blam volume change, which really sort of, it's not good. And also, all I did then was talk story in the most bland way possible, and yeah, no good. I suppose I might, I have a feeling there's another huge chunk of gameplay, so if there is, I'll speed it up.
You have 3 weeks. No more. You know what to do. The car's over there. It should have everything you need.
Let's keep him. Don't worry. He's never late. Here they are. Let's go. Right on time.
Alright. It's really obvious when I start speaking again because like the game audio dips heaps, static comes in. Kane and Lynch are not heroes. They aren't even anti-heroes. Kane and Lynch are criminals. They're psychopaths, and it's interesting how the game makes you sympathize with Kane's regrets and Lynch's shortcomings. It does this through narration, dialogue, and visuals. I loved how when you were down, Kane would start recalling things people have said to him in the past. This really kept you in the moment and strengthened his motivations. Volume levels are all out of whack, obviously, but that wasn't a too bad of a paragraph. I feel like what I said was reasonable. It's just such boringly spoke. I can't talk.
What the fuck have you done? What's wrong with you? I think you keep it at home. You promised.
The gameplay feature. Notice how I'm speeding footage up so much just because there's so much just gameplay without me talking in this, which I wanted it to be like my style, but I dropped it so quickly because watching back this, even back then I watched this and I was like, fuck, this is boring. The gameplay features generic third-person shooting mechanics and basic squad commands. The shooting mechanics feel awkward compared to games like Uncharted or Gears of War, but they are by no means bad, just generic. I found myself never commanding my teammates, but it was nice to see them give you ammo when you ran out. It's occasionally awkward to get into cover, but it was never too intrusive. The gunplay at times is extremely intense and fast-paced, and the level design and music really added to the intensity. It's quite stressful being in a dark nightclub trying to figure out who's an enemy and who's a civilian, or trying to stand your ground with enemies creeping closer and closer on your position. So, a few things to say about that. I kind of started it with like, yeah, the gunplay is generic and boring, and then I ended it with the gunplay is really intense, which is a bit confusing. You want to be like, I guess, if I say something like the gunplay is generic and boring, I want to back it up. These days when I write, at least, I want to back it up with something more tangible. But I guess, you know, I at the end I gave the example of the nightclub and then showed footage of the nightclub, which is something. But I suspect we're going to get a huge chunk of gameplay here. Get ready. is so fucking disorienting. It sped up. The level. I really liked the crowd stuff that Hitman Blood Money did. Hey, like this is still a really impressive scene, I think, and I think this was a really fun level in Kane Lynch. Just on the note of how I made this review, so I kind of decided I wanted to make reviews on YouTube, and what I did was boot up Kane Lynch. I had my old save file in that I'd played probably like a year before I made this review. And I played like a select few levels from the game that I liked, and then I wrote the review based on that, which isn't something you should do because the game wasn't like fresh in my mind when I wrote the review. So basically I played like 5 levels and then was like, yeah, I think I remember this game, and then wrote out the review, and it didn't turn out too well, obviously, because I don't think I remembered it that clearly, and the review turned out really boring. Continuing. The design in Kane Lynch, along with IO Interactive's other games, is truly a standout. You'll be doing things like robbing a bank and having shootout. But like, why is it a standout? Like, so I just said the level design is a standout, and then I'm talking about the actual situations it puts you in, which isn't level design. That's more like, anyway. It's in a nightclub, as well as some other missions later in the game, which I won't spoil. They are very memorable and varied, and it's fun to see where the protagonists will go next. So obviously that was quite awkward, like awkward gaps, boring speaking, no enthusiasm. Not that like you should force enthusiasm or anything, but it does certainly feel like a bit of a performance these days when I try and read, even though I'm not like the most overly enthusiastic kind of guy. That's just how it is. But yeah, so far haven't said anything insightful at all, just stuff like the gunplay is generic and the level design is good. That was jarring as fuck. Some of the themes in this game are pretty full on. For example, the fact that you can open fire into a crowd of innocent. Some of the themes in this game are pretty full on. For example, I want it to be like an actual games reviewer. I want it to be like a journalist that like, you know, like an IGN reviewer or a GameSpot reviewer. So I was all like trying to write in like this really like studious kind of way, which is completely opposite to how I write now. And I was like, for example, like, I don't know. Innocence is pretty confronting. Thankfully it did not encourage it. Some of the story elements throughout the game are pretty grim, but they're used appropriately and surprisingly have an emotional impact. See there, all I said was like the stuff is confronting and the story is sad or whatever, but like I didn't give a single example, even though I said like, you know, I'm not going to give you spoilers, but you know, there's like some early game stuff, you can show some themes. You can't, like at this point it just feels like I'm teasing you with a better review, if that makes sense, because it's like, I don't know, you know what I mean.
Head for the donut shop now! Nobody gets away with what you just did.
When you ladies are done chatting,
You just step on it.
This is another cool scene that Kane Lynch did. Kane Lynch was a really cool game. I haven't actually played it since this review, so my memory with it is probably super like overrating it in my head, but it did at least have a lot of really amazing ideas, I think, which I should have gotten into in this fucking review, and at this point I want to like re-review it just to see if it's still as good as I remember, for one thing, and as well as sort of sharing the interesting things that it does, like the sort of nightclub level and the bank heist and all that kind of thing.
as long as you keep off on that.
I would if this man wasn't swerving so goddamn much.
You wanna drive, you fucking shit?
Both of you, shut up and focus.
long ass stretches of gameplay, man, are so fucking boring. I can't remember. I think I say something more, but I wouldn't be surprised if the rest of the video was just gameplay footage. I don't know what I was thinking. It was a bad move. Everyone has to start somewhere on YouTube.
Lynch, get over here. I found the fire exit. Shut her up!
What the fuck? This is so boring. Like, you're 7 minutes in and I've probably said like 3 paragraphs or 4 paragraphs, none of which were substantial. I hate my 16-year-old self. You should have been better. Nah, like, it's all a learning experience and I feel like I've come a long way, but like, Jesus, it's just not good to watch. If there's a reason, this is unlisted. Kane Lynch does have its shortcomings and it see how the audio went quiet for like 4 seconds before I started talking. Learn to video edit, 16-year-old me. Definitely isn't perfect, but it's easy to recommend if you like the look of it. It feels like a gritty crime thriller movie, and it has interesting characters and an engaging story. It's not very long, but it is memorable. Kane Lynch was released on the 360, the PlayStation 3, and the PC, and you should be able to find it pretty cheap. I reviewed it on a PC with a keyboard. It's weird, you can hear me swallowing and trying to talk, so it's like, yeah, I reviewed it on like, why did, like, if that happened these days, I'd just do another take, like it's not a big deal. But yeah, it's funny that I put in mistakes so casually. And mouse. If you do pick up this game, be sure to play it through till the end, where you have to make a pretty harsh decision.
Because you would flake out if you'd have known.
Be sure to play it through it to the end. It's funny, that line about the ending thing, I actually just ripped straight off Good Game when they reviewed the game. I don't know why. They were like, if you play the game, like the last thing they said in their review was like, if you play the game, play it to the end because you have to make a grim decision or whatever. And I literally just like verbatim said the same thing at the end of my review. Which, another thing, don't do that. Don't be Philip Murchin or whatever the fuck his name is, the guy from IGN. The rest is just gameplay. Yeah, so that's my review of Kane Lynch Dead Men, which I want to re-review because that review was goddamn terrible. Somehow this got over 1,000 views. It was actually one of my most successful videos at the time, or like before I blew up, which is quite sad because it would have blown some people away. Yeah. Bro, this is actually pretty decent from Chocolate Chunks. So yeah, in my Q&A video a couple of years ago for my 10k subscriber count, which is crazy to think how far I've come since then, I linked this video because people were asking me what my first video was. And you know what? Look how friendly they are. Bro, this is pretty decent. Better than anything I could do. Feel like it ain't, guys. If you guys want a creative review, you can do better than this. I'm really enjoying this, but more than anything, see, all of the comments are from that time I linked it, which is really funny. Anyway, that's my review of Kane and Lynch Dead Men. Hope you enjoyed it. Also, some more context, actually, while we're on the topic. I used to write reviews on the game. I used to write GameSpot user reviews before I did all this. I was huge in the GameSpot community. And I used to like write blogs, and I made, wow, those birds outside are loud. I used to write blogs and sort of make little reviews, and they were mostly like awful, like legit worse than this is. So it's been like for a long time I have been wanting to like do some game writing and write reviews, but it's just funny looking back on my early days and seeing how awful they are. I was 16, it's to be expected, but yeah, that was the very first video I released on Mini-Me. Hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to check out my next video, which will be Nitronic Rush, and then the one after that will be Medal of Honor Airborne, which I believe is a big stepping stone kind of review for me, because I think I improved a lot when that one came out. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this. Check out my Patreon if you haven't already. If you want to see like more of these videos in the future, please check out my Patreon. You don't have to, but you know. Yeah, thanks for watching. Take it easy. Bye.